All right, I'm going to try in a very succinct way to show you how to tab any song on the drums. Hopefully this will take about 10 minutes. I'm using a website called apowersoft.com, the free online screen recorder, so you can follow along. Step one, grab the link to the YouTube video for the song you want to cover. Then go to Google and type in convert YouTube to MP3. Paste your link, convert. It'll give you an MP3 file, which I have here. You need that because you're going to put it into some software called the Amazing Slow Downer that's going to help you actually transcribe. After that, you need to verify by Googling how many beats per minute the song is. So for this one, I think I found it was 126. So what I do is I pull up a metronome and the song itself, and I play the two at the same time to get them to sync up and verify. Then I will also take a metronome that's like a beat slower or a beat faster to really make sure I'm in the exact right spot. So once I have all of that stuff ready and I have downloaded the Amazing Slow Downer and then put the track in, I can now play the track, change the speed, work with the EQ, all that good stuff. If you did this off a YouTube video, you can click the gear and change your playback speed here. It's hard because you might get distracted by the video and the speed's not fully customizable. Where here you can do any percentage down to like 20. So love this tool. Basically what I'll do is I'll get it to a speed I'm comfortable kind of processing at, and then I'll pull up my sheet music here. Got the legend, obviously. Each letter corresponds to an instrument, and we just put the ones that we need for that section. Crash, hi-hat, snare, and bass here. Might have some other items in another section, so that tells you what you're playing. Then we want to build a skeleton. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the song, and basically we're going to count kind of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and look at how many times that happens while the song stays in each like lane, I guess. So for example, for the intro, it looks like, and I kind of did this ahead a little bit, you should hear 7 counts of just straight up intro. Then it should change a little bit and be a fill before it jumps to the verse. So let's just verify. There's also kind of this pre-intro part that comes in on the 4 and. So I'm just going to play it and count, and I'll get right up to here to the verse, and we'll just verify that it's stopping at that time listed. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4 and 1. Okay, 17 seconds. Right up here, you can hear there was about to be a change where it goes in the verse. So you're going to do that process just to build the skeleton of the song the whole way through without even transcribing. Again, counting how many measures does it last, where is it a verse, where does it change to a fill, where does the chorus come in, all that good stuff. So let me just let this run for a minute, and then I'll hit stop, and we'll just verify that we had 3 bars of verse, 1 fill, 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 3 bars of chorus, 1 fill, 2 bars of chorus, 2 bars of verse, or I'm sorry, a fill. So let's just kind of check that from about 17 seconds. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 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 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and chorus. Okay, so you get the general idea there. You're going to map the entire song with that structure. Then you're going to go back and listen for contrasting voices. What I do here is I establish a point of reference with the snare drum first. With this song, I found that it's on the 2 and the 4. So as I count, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 2 and 3 and 4, it helps me to know where all the other numbers are. So the easiest contrast is the bass and the snare. So you're kind of listening for that boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, boom, boom kind of thing. So you go through bar by bar, measure by measure, and you count, and then you just listen for where you hear those different voices. So for example, if I drop the speed to about half, and I go back to the kind of the beginning of the song, let's just see where we hear sort of a low, and then the high crack of the snare, and then the low voice of the bass drum, and the high crack of the snare, and just see if this section looks like it reads correctly. Obviously, a good pair of headphones, good noise canceling style are going to help you pick up on the bass really well. So definitely use those. But let's just check the count. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4 and 1. Then you're going to go back and listen layer by layer to that exact same piece all over again. Where do I hear the low bass drum? Where do I hear the high snap or crack of the snare? Where do I hear different cymbals? For example, do I hear a crash in certain spots? Do I hear a hi-hat consistently throughout? Is the hi-hat closed? Is it halfway open? Is it fully open? So this is where you've got to play the section over and over and over again to really understand what's happening with each instrument and kind of where the voice fits in. If you do this in YouTube, you can download a Chrome extension it's Chrome Loop or something like that. It'll automatically connect on your YouTube videos. Let's say you want to loop a segment 100 times. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you could use this in YouTube as well. Problem is it's hard because it cuts the video and it can be distracting, but you'll get the same thing with this. You can play a loop here or play the full duration as well. So again, take the segment, count it, listen for the point of reference. Is the snare on the 3 or the 2 and the 4? Listen for the call and response between the bass and the snare, the two different voices. Listen for the cymbals. Now the tricky part about this is when you go layer by layer to do a fill. This is where obviously everybody wants to know what is it, how do you do it, how does it work. There's a lot going on, obviously. So take this fill at 120, 3 and 4 and that snippet right there. What you're going to do again is count it. As you listen, you hear the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? Let's check that. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we just got to slow it down where we can actually understand it. Put it half speed. Now remember, if the song itself is 126 BPM at full speed, cutting that in half is going to be a 63 BPM speed. So I'm about to listen to this chunk at 63 beats a minute. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay. So when I go piece by piece, first I listen for the bass drum. I should hear a 1, 2 and 1. Then I should hear the call and response with the snare. So that kind of 1 and 2 and 1. Now I knew that there was something different going on in this chunk right here. So what I had to do was listen layer by layer for each voice. Well, I know I heard some toms on the 3. So if I play it and I pause it on the 3, the last thing you should have heard is a tom. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and it can be hard because you're like, well, did I hear a cymbal? Did I hear a bass drum? So use those headphones and really listen layer by layer to pick it out. But when I did that a couple times, this is what I feel like I heard. Now, that being said, as you build these tabs, this is all subject to change. You're going to evolve this as you listen to the song, as you play the song, as you picture how the drummer's physiologically moving and what would make sense where and what their style and what their approach the rest of the song has been. This is all a skeleton. You know, it starts with how long are the sections, what's the count of the section, what voices are happening at what different spots. But it's all going to change the more familiar you become with the song, obviously. So then I want to listen back at different intervals to make sure that I am hearing it correct. So I want to hear that same fill full speed and see if I can, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. I'm like, it's a little too fast. Well, drop it 10%. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. No, still too fast. So keep repeating this process, dropping it 10% at a time until you can get it. Okay. Eventually you'll find a sweet spot that you're like, yeah, that's the speed I can process this song at right now. Don't get discouraged. I've had so many times where I felt like this is like too fast and I can't keep up. I can't do it. Lo and behold, I end up nailing it and then I cover it. So you just have to start low and then build your speed up as you go. The slowest I feel like I can register is about 33% on any song. You can go as low as 20. Gets kind of hard to follow with though. So from about 33 up to 100, you should be good. So once you've got that skeleton built, once you know how long the different sections are, once you know what voices are happening and what spots, the next step is going to be to just play this on the kit. What you want to do is get familiar enough where, you can use the sheet music in front of you on a music stand or whatever and just physiologically play it. You know where your hands go, where your feet are, how things coordinate. All of that's without a metronome. You're just physically understanding bar by bar the whole song through. Then you can throw on a metronome at like half speed or 3/4 speed or whatever to build your speed up. What you really want to watch for are transitions, though, specifically around fills, right? What I find is, I'm playing smooth, fill comes up and I have to be thinking about the fill and executing, but also what's about to happen next. Sometimes it's an easy transition to something familiar. Other times a fill leads you into something else that you got to be prepped for. You have to understand where you're at in the sheet music, what page, how far up or down the page you are, what's happening in the transition that leads to the next segment. So really focus on the turnarounds, like how to go from like here to here, how to go from here onto the next section down beneath. And the more you can just play these pieces independently without a metronome and then build up your speed with a metronome, the more accurately you'll keep up in your cover. You got to think like the drummer too. Like, all right, based on what I've seen so far, like, do I feel like this is what they would play? Is it how they would play it? Go back and listen. Is there really a bass drum in this spot? Am I hearing the bass guitar? Is this really a hi-hat? Am I hearing something from the guitar itself or feedback from the microphone or something? So really layer by layer. And eventually what you'll do is, first you'll tab out this entire song's sheet music Then you'll go play those parts, play them with the metronome, play them at speed, and that will lead to a successful cover. So if I was gonna, keep doing exactly what I'm doing, I would jump in right here. I'd say, okay, what comes after the fill at 122? And I'm not gonna sit here and tab, it'll take forever, but let me just show you an idea how I would do this. So I want to know what happens right after the fill, because let's say I'm up to this point. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and. So I'm like, okay, it's familiar, sounds like it's a verse. Go back to previous sections, like once it's tabbed, and be like, did I hear this same thing happen down here too? Because sometimes you can just copy and paste, and that's where I'll put those different color segments and everything. But the way that I would do that is I would jump back to 40 seconds, or right before, and I would kind of listen for it, and then I would jump ahead to the other section and be like, okay, is it the same exact thing? Okay, so I kind of heard some snare, but at the end. Is it the same thing that I hear after this section? Like, okay, so that goes to 128. Then there's a fill. I know that typically fills are 2 seconds-ish, so it's probably going to be about this duration. So this aspect sounded the same, but I want to know if I still catch that snare stuff in the end. No, not the exact same, but maybe I can just copy and paste what I heard from the verse. And then for the fill, I'm going to go back and I'm like, all right, does it match this fill that I just heard? Is it the same as the fill that was here, the fill that was here, or here? And that's where, when they're the same, I'll come in, I'll color block them. Like, oh, that one was the yellow one, and that one was the yellow one. And then I just go in sequence. The next duplicate's green, turquoise, pink, blue, so on and so forth. So you can kind of rely on what you've heard previously in the song a little bit to know if you need to tab that whole thing piece by piece. But if it's not the same, you just count, go layer by layer for the voice, and that's how you'll kind of build that skeleton and that framework. Once you have all that down, you're up and running and you're ready to either start playing it live, making your own cover videos, or sharing the knowledge that you have with other people out there in the drum community.